another episode of The Casual Movie Club. And not just another episode, it's episode number 38.
I'm glad you keep the episode number straight.
And, you know, it's great. I'm so glad that we're here and so glad that we are able to kind of talk to all of you about the wonderful, fantastic, Oscar-worthy movies that we watch. And then there's the movies like the one we watched tonight that we watch and are going to subsequently talk to you about. And by we, I mean me. It's John, your good friend. And of course, with me, as always, is my good friend, Brian. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, good to see you. And hey, I got one for you. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Two psycho bitches.
Two psycho bitches who?
Two psycho bitches who fuck shit up.
Like starting motherfucking fires.
Yeah. So we watched a very interesting movie tonight, and I am very curious to see what Brian thought. And Brian had his poker face going in full effect.
I'm surprised.
Tonight.
There were some moments where
you lost. You totally broke it.
Some things came through that I didn't mean to come through. I was trying to hide it, and I saw you looking at me. I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to break.
So the movie we did tonight, before we get into the thick of it, is called Knock Knock, and the movie is from 2015. And the only people I've ever heard of in this movie are Keanu Reeves and Colleen Camp.
I don't know Colleen Camp offhand, but I know the director.
Yeah.
The director is Eli Roth.
Yeah, didn't he direct movies that were a little better than this one?
Much better. Hostel comes to mind. Cabin in the Woods comes to mind. Or not Cabin in the Woods, Cabin Fever.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So we have an accomplished director. Keanu Reeves obviously is an accomplished actor. What he's doing in this movie, I have no idea. But, this was a very strange movie. And the gist of which being Keanu Reeves is an architect. He's working late one night. Two random girls show up. All hell ensues.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie, Brian?
Well, I want to answer your question with a question for you.
What question did I ask you?
You asked if I like this movie.
Okay. Well, no, I said, what did you think of it?
Yeah. What do I think of it? But
same difference.
I want to know if you've seen this movie before. I assume that you have.
Yes, I've seen it once before.
Once before?
Yes.
Okay. I did not like this movie. I borderline hated it. If I could sum up this movie in a word, it would be tedious.
That's definitely a word I would use. I would also use the word emasculating.
In a sense, yeah. Well, I mean, in a literal sense of the word, yes. It's emasculating.
There's a shitload of emasculating happening in this movie.
But I'm thinking of like the total package, the plot points, just the unsatisfactory ending.
Oh, the ending! I want to talk about that. That's a whole topic in and of itself. So let's come back to that in a few minutes.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
The beginning, even or just the impetus of the whole plot of the movie.
Right.
Just the girl showing up. Let's dig in.
Let's do it. So, just for those unaware. The movie is Knock Knock from 2015. Keanu Reeves and Colleen Camp has a minor role in it. Colleen Camp was actually...
Who is Colleen Camp?
She was in Clue. She played the maid Yvette in Clue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Clue's kind of that one of the... We should do that movie on the podcast,
Absolutely,
too.
Yeah.
That's kind of got a cult following and everything. She was Yvette
in Clue. Yvette... so who was she in...
She was that massage therapist that showed up kind of mid-movie.
Oh.
And that got chased off by Genesis.
I hated her.
Really?
Yeah.
She had such a small part. I mean,
it's a small part, but she's got that kind of personality, that overbearing, like talking over. She was listening to Keanu, but not really listening to him.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, my wife may have told you I have a lot of work. Oh, I love your wife. How is she? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and then he was saying, "Oh, I don't need a massage today. Oh, I'll just do a healing massage." I mean, like she wasn't taking a hint. So then
That's what I don't like. Like,
yeah.
Take a social cue, take a hint,
agreed.
and then Genesis comes out, and then she just immediately
Shuts her down.
but she immediately like jumps the gun, like doesn't give Keanu the chance to explain. Like you don't know what this woman's doing here.
Right, exactly.
Like give Keanu a chance to explain.
Right, exactly.
So that was my whole thing with her. I mean, she was fine. She did her job. She riled me up.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
I didn't like her.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, she has such a minor part, so it's not that big a deal. Her involvement is not that big a deal, but she's one of the only people I recognize in this movie, because the other people that are in this movie are pretty much unknowns. I mean, the two sort of antagonist girls, Lorenza Izzo and Ana de Armas. I've never heard of them before. Mm-hmm. I don't even know. I mean, actually, let's see. Lorenza Izzo has been in. Let's see. She's in something. She's in a TV series now. I'm just looking at IMDb. She's filming something else right now. She's a TV movie. She's done some stuff, but a lot more TV than anything. But again, I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who her friend Belle was. I didn't know who that guy Lewis was, the lady that played Karen, Keanu's wife. What is Keanu doing in this movie? Why him of all things? Because one of the things I wrote down in my notes, and I'm curious if you agree with me on this, I did not for 1 second buy Keanu's like cheesy dad character.
Oh no,
not at all.
I have a hard time buying Keanu at all when it comes to speaking parts. I think what Keanu does best is silently emote, and that's where I love him the best. Or when he has very little speaking roles.
He is good at that, he is good at that. But I think not to make him typecast, but maybe he is. He really is an action movie star. To see him in something like this, and granted, I've seen him in another movie recently. A movie called, I think it was The Whole Truth, where he played a lawyer. He was really good in that. I could tell that maybe doing this movie and The Whole Truth, that maybe he was trying to get out of that typecast kind of action movie role, because he did all the John Wick movies. He did Speed, the movies where he's a token action hero. He's great at that type of thing, but playing just a regular, like, run-of-the-mill dad did not at all work for me.
I've seen him in other things that are not. I don't know if I entirely agree with that. I've seen him in a wide variety of roles. He's been in
Bill and Ted doesn't count, by the way. Bill and Ted does not count.
Bill and Ted does count. Bill and Ted counts, and so does the rom-com he was in like 10 years ago. It was Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton and Something's Gotta Give.
Oh, The Lake House was such a terrible movie.
Lake House was not a good movie.
Did you see that?
Either. I did see that.
Freaking time-traveling mailbox?
Time traveling through the USPS.
So, okay, I have to take a moment. I got to take a moment and give a shout-out to my friend Tina. So, Tina and I both really enjoy Keanu Reeves movies. For whatever reason. We'll just leave it at that. But we both really enjoy Keanu Reeves movies. She introduced me to The Lake House, which I thought was... Be quiet. Siri wants to get in on this. So she introduced me to The Lake House. It was tedious as hell to sit through, and I basically, as a plot of revenge, made her watch Knock Knock. And that was my first viewing of it, because we just went on iTunes and searched for Keanu Reeves movies.
Like lowest rated Keanu Reeves movies?
No, we should have searched that. It would have been funny. But we saw this, and about halfway through my first viewing of this, I was like, this is my next surprise movie for Casual Movie Club.
Oh, no. So I have Tina to thank for this.
Yeah, you do.
Or you.
Both of us.
Yeah.
So I saw this movie, and I was thinking, this is definitely got to be something we do. But when I saw The Lake House prior to that, I was like, oh, this is horrible. Such a terrible movie.
Yeah, I'd like to do The Lake House. That's a good bad movie in my opinion. Though. Oh yeah. We've got to cool off on.
Yeah, we got to cool off
some Keanu.
Yeah, I mean, we did Speed, and Speed was really good.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we can find another Keanu movie that was good.
Yeah.
If you guys have any suggestions, by the way, about a good Keanu movie for us to do, send it to us, casualmovieclub@hotmail.com. Tweet us or Instagram us at casualmovieclub. We would love to know if you have a good recommendation for a Keanu movie to do that is better than The Lake House and Knock Knock. Brian, you had something you want to say?
I do. The movie opens up with Keanu and his wife getting busy in bed and
trying
to get busy.
Yeah.
The kids come in and they jump on bed with a cake and present stuff,
and they deflate the bone zone.
But I just can't help but think like Keanu's got a raging hard-on with his kids in bed with him because they came in like right in the middle of initiation.
He and his wife have not arrived in the bone zone.
Apparently for 3 weeks, and this was like the day that they were going to do it, and then the kids interrupted.
Right, but they were not boning at the time of entry when the kids entered.
Right.
They were getting close to boning.
But I mean, if you've got somebody kissing up on your neck and your ears, and then they start going downtown,
right?
Like
things are going to happen.
Things are going to happen. You're going to be ready, and then to introduce children into the mix, like moments later,
right?
That's a little suspect to have on screen.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Saying.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I liked how the movie was shot.
I liked that as well, and that's actually something I was kind of like my scores are so all over the place on this one. This is going to be an interesting one to do score wise because I wonder if you're in the same boat as me, but my scores were literally just hopping all over the map. But presentation is one thing I really did like.
I for the most part, I liked it. They had some really nice composition shots in the beginning.
Yeah.
I liked the tour through the house, and it really established like that there was an artist in this house.
Yeah.
And children, of course, because you got pictures of family all over the place and this and that. And I liked like the subtle mess that you saw in separate rooms as the camera kind of panned through the house. Loved that. Thought it was great.
Definitely.
Some of the acting choices, though. Oh boy. And let me before we get into acting, like the one night it fucking rains in L.A.
Yeah.
It never rains in L.A. I don't know if you're aware of the location of L.A., but it's in a desert.
Okay.
It's in the desert,
like Vegas, right?
It rarely rains.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very convenient that this happened. The girls coming to Keanu's house and just accosting him in the middle of a downpour.
Right, and also, I mean, I would assume just because, and this was 2015, so not that long ago, rainstorms don't last that long.
Not usually.
Not now
usually.
With I guess global warming and whatever else is there, rainstorms are. What, maybe 5 to 10 minutes of solid rain, maybe 15 minutes, and then they pass through?
Now, there ain't no fact checking on this podcast.
No fact check.
But if my memory serves, I think they were in the middle of a drought in 2015.
Okay.
So
that sounds about right.
It's still very implausible for a rainstorm to just happen.
Right.
And to suspend disbelief. It's for the point of the story. Blah
of
blah
course.
blah blah.
But, I mean, there's so many.
But it
other...
was very jarring though. You fly over the Hollywood Hills, the iconic Hollywood sign.
Yep.
You go down a little bit towards the beach and then down the coast, and then you arrive at Keanu's house, and then the next day, rain.
Yeah.
So it's like, really?
But then again, we don't know if that was the next day or a week later or 2 days later. We don't know that because that element of time has not been established.
I think it has because in the opening shot, you're panning through the house.
Right.
The opening shot is you go over the Hollywood Hills, you go down the coast, and you get to his house.
We're only assuming that's the same day, though. It could be 2 different days. I would, because it could be one day of showing you the area, and then it could be that doesn't necessarily mean it's the same day.
The way it was presented made me think that I am the third person flying through the air.
You're Superman?
I'm a ghost Superman flying through the air, flying down the coast, and now my third person perspective is coming in through the house, winding through the house, seeing the arts, and then I'm in the bedroom, and then it's Father's Day. and the kids have breakfast, and then they go down to the beach with the mom.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Moving on.
Yeah, because that's such a minute detail.
Yeah, moving on. He's an architect. He's 3D printing something. The house is really cool.
It really is.
The art aside, and I agree with the girls who break in that the art is terrible in the house.
Yeah.
Not for me, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
The house is really cool. Keanu's got a nice office set up. He's got his pipe and his weed there, and he's got his turntable.
I knew you were gonna mention
and
that.
he's got his 3D printer going and his iMac. Like it's real. It's a really cool setup.
Yeah.
I'm digging it.
Yeah. Me too.
So yeah.
Yeah. So now here comes a question that one of my things I write under the things to ask Brian headline.
Okay.
So plot wise, Keanu's working on something late at night. His wife takes the kids to the beach. They're presumably going for the weekend, and these girls show up. How would you have handled that? Would you have handled it the same way where two random hot girls show up? You're married, happily married.
Yep.
Two random hot girls show up. I mean, I'm assuming they're hot by most people's standards. They show up.
Let's say these girls show up.
Sure.
Like I'm putting me in Keanu's space, but
Exactly.
But where I live now.
Right. They show up soaking wet, asking to use your computer. If you were in Keanu's shoes, assuming you've never seen the movie and this happened to you, how would you have handled it?
The same way up until they started talking about sex.
Okay.
Once they were talking, now granted, this might be Americans are very like sexually conservative and closed off, and
not all of them,
but not all. But that's the general stereotype. And I'd like to think that I'm more of an open thinker, a more free-minded person. But it felt awkward listening to that conversation. Listening to Keanu have to go through that.
Yeah.
It felt like he was going through something, and I empathized with him. I was like, this is awkward as shit. And
what do you mean by going through something? Like just having to deflect all their advances, or?
Yes, because the advances, they were coming on very strong. The one girl comes up and just puts her arms around him while she's telling him she's a flight attendant.
Yeah.
The other girl looks out the window and lays her hand on her shoulder. Like that stuff crosses the line, and I would have nipped that shit in the bud at some point during that conversation. It's like, it's obvious what you're doing. I'm married. I'm not into it. I would have. I can be very blunt and very direct when I want to be, and I would have put the kibosh on that shit.
Yeah.
So I would have done everything. I can see myself doing everything Keanu did. Up to that point. Yeah,
I agree with you.
How about you?
So I would handle it the same way. The difference thing with me though, knowing that there was a gun in the house, and knowing that those girls were not super familiar with the house yet, they were still fairly, they would only been there for a little bit, but they were wearing their robes and everything. They would stay there, and I would say, "Excuse me for a minute." I would go to where the gun was located, get the gun, and put it in my pants.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That soon?
Yes, because then once they were making those sexual advances to me, and I would say, "Listen, that's not something I'm comfortable with. I need you to stop that." If they kept on doing it, then I would say, "Okay, excuse me for just a minute." I would go get the gun, put it in and I'd keep it concealed, of course. But if they didn't take the hint, I would tell them they would need to leave. If they didn't leave, I would tell them again and say, "Listen, you need to leave right now. This is over. Your clothes are dry. It's, whatever. You need to take responsibility for whatever's happening. You need to call a taxi, do whatever you want, but I am finished with you right now." If they still didn't leave, I'd pull the gun out and say, I would show them the gun and I would say, "You need to leave right now."
Yeah.
Or something like that. I mean,
well, yeah.
I would have the gun on my person instead of leaving it concealed for that long. Because there's obviously this podcast, if you haven't figured out yet, spoiler alerts all over the place. Keanu has a gun, but it's concealed in a certain place. I would have gone for the gun much earlier. So before they even came on to me and made me fuck them, if I was in Keanu's shoes, I would have pulled the gun on them and established my authority and said, you are not staying here any longer. You are done.
Yeah.
I am kicking you out of my house. If they didn't leave, I would then call the cops.
No.
Maybe call the cops before I pulled the gun on them or, whatever it was. But I would have maintained, apart from everything I just said, I would have maintained my authority and said, you have overstayed your welcome. You are making me uncomfortable in my own home. I'm going to give you your clothes. You're going to change and you're going to leave. If you don't leave, I'm going to call the police. And then use the gun if necessary as just a means of intimidation.
I would have done, it's putting myself in Keanu's shoes up to that point. They're still girls, and they were small girls. And he brought this up himself. He's like, I think I can take both of you. And she's like, oh, I'm a kickboxing champion, blah, 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 blah. But, and I would not, and maybe it's the naivety on my part, and I recognize that might be a failing on my part, but I would have seen them as physically weaker than me, and I would not have thought to go for the gun until they first got physical with me.
Right.
Like the first time that they laid hands on me, then that would cross my mind. But I wouldn't even have thought of the gun until that point. Yeah. It would have been, I'm calling the cops, or you do what you need to do. Yeah. But the first time they get physical with me, I'm getting physical back, and then I'm thinking, if this goes sideways, there's two of them, there's one of me, one of them will get behind me. Then I'm thinking about, where can I angle myself so I can get to the gun the most easily? Right.
The problem is, I think that would be too late because then
you think so?
Because then they've already established what their intentions are, and now you're more on the defense. Where if you go for the gun beforehand, you can still maintain the upper hand, and you can still maintain almost an offensive side.
Now, I disagree with that because hindsight, their goal was to fuck him, and I don't think that I think they would have left more peaceably when it got to be aggressive on my part.
Like if you pulled the gun, you mean, or what?
Like if we. Because they didn't really get aggressive with him until he was in the bathroom when they were naked and and that part.
Right.
At that point, I'm saying that I would. Well,
is that when you would have gone for the gun, possibly?
I would have gone for the gun at that point, but I'm saying earlier in the conversation, before they even got to the bathroom, when they're still in their robes and we're having conversations and they were touching me, I would have put the kibosh on it there.
Yeah.
But let's say I let it go. I'm still a nice guy, quote unquote.
Right.
And then they go to the bathroom. At that point, when they start getting physical with me, trying to get at my pants, then I'm thinking about, let me physically get them out of here. Yeah. Let me angle myself towards the gun.
Did they, now here's the question, were the two of them positioned in such a way where Keanu could still have gotten out of the bathroom, or was one of them behind him?
No, they were both in front of him. His back was to the tub, he was facing the door, and they were both in front of him.
So he went to get to the door, it would have had to go through them.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And at that point, you got two mouths going for your man's
Johnson,
there. Yeah, going for your man's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's free pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
What am I supposed to do? To quote Keanu, it's free pizza. What am I supposed to do? Not eat the free pizza?
Right. And by the way,
that's terrible. That whole monologue.
Oh yeah. The clock that the kids gave him for Father's Day, was that creepy or what?
It was so creepy. The kids' faces just like floating just around the where the numbers should be.
It was so creepy.
I did not like that clock. But
I did not either.
But I don't have children, so I can't really speak to this, but maybe I would feel differently if I spawned some kids and then they made something. I don't know.
I mean, there's the cute factor. We can't discount the cute factor.
It's a cute thought. It's a cute sentiment, but the actual execution was a little on the creepy side. Your kid's head's just floating around this clock.
Yeah, completely ridiculous. So, all right. So
one more. I like this question game. What else do you have for me here?
Well, okay. So now we know that. Oh, nice iPhone 11, by the way.
Thanks.
So we, God, I can't wait to get mine. We know that these girls are crazy. We know that they're here to to cause some trouble. When they started talking to him about the whole like underage thing, do you think you would have still called the cops anyway and risked the underage thing biting you in the ass potentially?
Glad you asked that.
Or do you think you would have done what Keanu did and hung up the phone and said, okay, I'll do whatever you want?
Absolutely not. I would have
Agreed.
went through with it. First of all, because I didn't believe that they were fucking 15. They didn't look 15. I'm sure there are plenty of examples of underage people who look older than they are.
Right, but here's the problem, though. You would have two women against one man, and in today's society, with the Me Too movement and all that kind of thing, what is the likelihood of a man successfully being looked at as the victim? Because these two women knew.
Oh, there's something we need to talk about later,
right.
too.
These two women knew.
God damn.
These two women knew that they could easily play the victim card and win.
This is pre-Me Too. This is 2015.
Right. It's pre-Me Too, but I'm saying women have always, and believe me, I am not a sexist by any means. I love women. I love men. I love everybody, but I am not a sexist by any means. But in this particular movie, in this particular plot, in this particular story, these girls knew that they could exploit it, because this happened when Keanu was trying to call the cops. They knew that they could exploit the victim role. Even though they knew they were not the victims, they could exploit and they could play the victim card, and they would be considered, they would be considered and believed to be the victims, where Keanu would be the aggressor, even though it was the complete opposite way around.
I would have still went through with the call. I'm a firm believer that the truth will out. It will set you free. Will set you free.
Yeah.
All that. And let's say it turns out they were both 15.
Right.
Well, shit. It's a lot better than what's going to happen later on in the movie.
Right. Yeah, but that also runs the likelihood of giving the cops whatever ammo or whatever information they might need if other people had reported the same type of thing, because at the end of the movie they left Keanu alive.
They left him alive, and they said that they all say they never say no. Like,
right.
We've done this before, and they've never said no.
Right, and they said that you were my favorite. Like, they've done this to other guys before.
Yeah.
So in theory, they're going to go off and do this to someone else. They're going to have the same exact experience with someone else. They're going to ruin someone else's life, and maybe if he had called the cops instead and gotten the cops to come over and everything, they could have arrested those girls if possible. Who knows if they had other people that had reported that kinds of activities those girls did. It could have gone a whole different way. So I agree with you. I would have done the same exact thing. I would have definitely called the cops, and I would have reported them as well.
Plot hole. He calls the cops and says, "I'd like to report a break-in." And the dispatcher on the other side says, "Okay, where are you?" Click. So the dispatcher heard, right, responded,
and the dispatcher already had his address.
Right. And no cops showed up?
Right.
What the hell is that?
That is a plot hole. You're absolutely right.
What the fuck is that? In addition to that, all these missed calls to his wife, and all of the shit that's going on with that, she didn't think to find out what the hell was that about, and she tries to call him back. She can't reach him, and she's not worried.
Okay, so if you were in that situation where you were away, maybe you were away on business, your wife is at home, she tries to call you repeatedly, and then you call her back and you can't reach her, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna
keep trying to call her back.
Right, but then if you can't reach her, are you gonna call the cops? Are you gonna call like me or one of your buddies to go to your house and check on her? Like, what would be your next course of action?
Oh, that's a good question.
If it were me, I'm not married, but if I was,
probably a nearby buddy over the cops.
Yeah. If I was married and I couldn't reach my spouse, the first thing I would do is try to get a hold of my spouse. If I couldn't reach my spouse, I would call you, or I'd call somebody and say, "Hey, could you go check on my honey?" because I have not been able to reach my honey. I need you to go check on my honey and make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah. I think that's what I would do. I wouldn't start with the cops because the cops always... Yeah,
they assume the worst.
Yeah. They've got better things to do usually, and then just drive by a house.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to drive by the house. The lights are on. Everything looks fine.
Yeah.
You know? By the way, you can always call me. I got your back.
I got your back too, buddy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, some of the lines in this movie, some of the script writing, and I can't wait to get the ratings on this, but some of the dialogue was just terrible.
When they broke back in, knocked out Keanu, tied him to the bed,
and that whole game show scene.
Well, before the game show scene, the one girl, Genesis, was putting on the makeup. She was putting on the eyeshadow all over the place, and Keanu is like struggling in bed, and he says, "What's the point of this?" I'm with you, Keanu. What's the point of this movie? What's the point of all this?
What is the point of anything in this whole movie?
Oh shit!
But there were a whole bunch of like sequences of swears, like fuck this fucking fuck.
Yeah, fuck you, core cunts.
Yeah, or I mean, one of my favorite bits of that was during the Keanu's kill me tirade. I called it the kill me tirade when he was bundled up. He was tied up, and he was they're doing a little game show, and he goes, "What? You're gonna kill me? You're going to kill me because I fucked you? You're going to kill me because I fucked you? You fucked me. You both sucked my cock. It was free pizza." Like you said, free pizza. Yeah. And then, what the fuck, this is fucking insane. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but this kind of goes back to the, me not buying Keanu's sort of innocent dad character. I was waiting for, like, the John Wick to come out. I was waiting for him to, like, beat these girls to high heaven. I was waiting for him to get physical with them. He played this meek, mild-mannered guy that just was so not him.
So, a couple things about that. That whole monologue was, like, it was all on point. Everything he said was true and on point.
He's a good father and all that stuff. I agree.
It was all good, but the delivery wasn't there. I just... could not get behind the emotion that he was putting out there.
It was almost like, I mean, I got like frustration from it. I got desperation from it, but I could tell Keanu was trying, but it just, he was selling it, but I was definitely not buying it.
You said John Wick. At the end, they stole the dog. And if you've seen John Wick 1, that's a bad move on these bitches' parts.
Yes. So, I mean, If there's a Knock Knock 2 where Keanu gets revenge, I am all in on that movie. I am totally all in on that movie because I want to see his revenge on those two. Because I mean, at the end of this movie, those two girls walked away with no repercussions for their actions. They did not have to take any responsibility for anything. They left his house trashed. They left him buried in the backyard with his head above ground. They posted that video of Belle fucking him on his Facebook.
And he liked it.
Of course. That was accidental. But, they left him. Everyone was alive in this. So he easily could get revenge on those two. And I would love to see that happen.
The thing about that, though, they were saying in the beginning, like, oh, how ripped he is, and you must be cut.
He must work out every day.
But then, did you see him with his shirt off?
Yeah.
Not cut, not ripped at all. This was like between John Wick movies. He was like, he wasn't flabby, but
when was the first John Wick movie?
He wasn't defined at all. Like, he had very little definition.
Right. I'm looking up when the first John Wick movie was, because so this one came out in 2015. John Wick #1.
His hair and beard were the right length for John Wick.
Right.
Until they
too far.
Until they gave him the bowl cut.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Okay, John Wick 1 was 2014. So this was, like you said, it was right between the John Wick movies, because John Wick. So actually, interestingly enough, John Wick came out in 2014. 2015, he did Knock Knock, And then the next John Wick Chapter 2 was 2017. So he had 2 years between the 2 John Wick movies.
Right.
So he was coming off John Wick 1. I would have thought he would be in better shape. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that too. It was like obvious that he was not in the best physical shape.
It was, but the thing is, the girls made mention of it specifically.
Yeah, and then I'm looking for like, oh yeah, well, let's see some John Wick abs,
right?
And then we get, we
get dad bod.
Dad bod.
We get the dad bod. But the thing is, the fact that they mentioned he was so ripped, but he didn't do anything with it. If he was so ripped, that implies he was strong. He worked out. Maybe he was a little more. He could have had a little more aggression to him, but he just didn't. He was this weakling.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, like these girls were just puffing him up. Like he's an for this role. Yeah. He's a former DJ. He's now an architect.
Married to an artist.
Married to an artist. Yeah. He's not working out. These girls were just like puffing up his ego.
So here's a question for you: who else could you see cast in this? Like if you were to recast
Nick Cage.
No.
Yes, Nick Cage.
No.
And for a very good reason.
You got to sell me hard on this because I'm not seeing it.
Here's a line for you. Where is it? My ears, I could go deaf.
You're not selling me on it.
Does that not remind you of The Wicker Man?
I never saw that.
The bees, not the bees. Like this was a terrible acting performance on Keanu's part, and it reminded me of Nick Cage. It really, really did.
I didn't see it at all.
Oh, we need to watch more Nick Cage movies.
I'm down with that. Okay. Now, let's pretending you didn't just say Nick Cage, because I do not see Nick Cage in that at all.
I'm seeing it in my mind's eye.
So you're going with Nick Cage?
I'm going with Nick Cage. That's the only logical choice.
I have a really interesting choice.
Let's hear it.
David Duchovny.
Shit, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Because he can play the cheesy father role.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw that I'm thinking of him mainly from X-Files, X-Files experience, but we saw him play, he's played so many different types of characters in the X-Files. He's played a cheesy character, cheesy father kind of role, but I've also seen him play like the kind of tortured, emasculated, what am I going to do with myself kind of thing. I think he could have done a much better job. I mean, he's not nearly an A-list actor like Keanu Reeves is, but I think he would have been a better choice.
Have you ever seen Californication? The TV show where he's like a sex addict? No?
But interestingly enough, apparently David Duchovny himself is a sex addict.
That's one of the reasons why he took the role. It's actually a decent show.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's a really good pick. I got to stick with Nick Cage on that, just because I was reminded of him so much with the way Keanu delivered those lines.
Okay. I respect that, by the way. I respect that. Now, I want to throw this out to our listeners because I really do want to hear from you guys. Tweet us at Casual Movie Club, Instagram us at Casual Movie Club, text us at 402-882-2742. Who would you rather see play Evan, who is the Keanu Reeves character in Knock Knock? We want to hear from you. I know Knock Knock was a big blockbuster smash hit, and not really, but who else could you see play that role? Because Keanu wasn't selling it for me. Tweet us, tell us. We want to know. Go ahead.
I wanted to cover the ending.
Oh, I have one more thing I want to say.
Go for it.
Because the writing in this movie is just on its own level. I just love the line, "I'll fucking kill you, you fucking fuck bitch cunt." That I had to write that line down because that's. I mean, hey, if that's not Oscar worthy, I don't know what it is.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned already, they took the dog. That was fucked up. And you mentioned earlier the ending. What the fuck happened?
Well, so
because the last thing we see is the wife and kids coming home, and the little boy goes, "Daddy had a party," and that's the fucking end of it.
The thing about this is they raped him. Like they legit raped him.
More they mentally and physically.
They filmed it.
Yeah.
And then they put it on Facebook, buried him up to his neck, and then just torturing him the whole time.
Right.
To what end?
What do you mean?
To what end? Were they teaching him a lesson to not cheat on his wife? To not it's the monologue that he had when he was tied to the chair and he was like the free pizza monologue.
Yeah.
Like that was the best summation of the movie. You guys came and you fucked me. You did all this to me. Yes, it's a mistake, but it doesn't take away the fact that I love my family. I love my children. You can't take that away from me.
Right.
And it just fell on deaf ears. And the one girl, Belle, spit in the picture.
Yeah.
And this is what you did to your kids when you fucked us and blah 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 blah. But what was the lesson that they were trying to what was the lesson here? They had their fun. They fucked a Keanu.
Right.
They fucked up all the art. They murdered a guy.
Yeah.
They paper mached him and sent.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Oh yeah, Lewis is the man, by the way.
Yeah.
Until he wasn't. But so my whole thing is like. There's no point to this. What is the point to this? Like the lesson. What is the lesson here? Like, don't cheat on your wife.
That's a given.
It's a given.
But if he hadn't cheated on his wife, if this all had gone down kind of the way we were talking about before, if he had put the kibosh on all their moves and all that stuff in the beginning, do you think he would have gotten them to the Uber and they would have left and it would have been just an uneventful evening? Or do you think they still would have found a way to finagle him into bed with them? Or do you think they still would have manipulated him? Because we know from later on in the movie when they said they were talking about his like monster bit and how they knew about that. So they had obviously staked him out already. Yeah. They had done some kind of research or maybe, that's another plot hole. We don't know if they were spying on him or if his wife put them up to it or they spied on the kids. Like, we don't know how they knew about this.
In my head, there's no way their wife put them up to this.
You never know.
You never know.
Because that element of it wasn't covered.
No, you're right. You're right. And there's no way for us to know. We'll never know. But
Right.
in my head, these girls have been spying on him on their own accord.
Right.
They found him somewhere. Something happened where they chose him.
Somehow.
They chose him somehow and spied on him enough. So I think whether he turned them away or not, they still would have come back, broken in, and all of this would have still taken place.
Right.
So in our scenario, where you threaten them with the gun or I cut them off early and send them on their way, I think they still would have come back and tortured. And they would have come up with their own reason why to justify their bad behavior.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely agree. Is there anything else you want to mention, or should we get to numbers?
Lewis was the man. I loved him until they fucking killed him.
Yeah. Oh, I took major issue. I took major issue with how these girls were behaving the entire fucking movie. But I took major issue with their whole monkey in the middle where they're throwing his inhaler around and they see that he's clearly suffering. He's clearly trying to he can't breathe without it, but they're tossing it around. I mean, if they were, I don't know. I mean, they were clearly sadistic and clearly crazy. So there was, I don't know. I mean, I took issue with that.
Same.
I felt pain. I felt the pain.
Yeah, it was frustrating at the end when he liked it was funny when he accidentally liked the video, and then the family comes home, and then there was no payoff for that. Oh, Daddy must have had a party.
Yeah, I hated that.
That was terrible.
Yeah, because I wanted to know. I mean, number one, we don't know how long it was since the girls left him and the family got home. He could have been dead in the back, with his head sticking out of the ground. We don't know if he survived that. We don't know what happened with all the wife's art? Did the wife leave him after that? Did the wife go and see him still alive and say, "Oh my God, honey, are you okay? What happened?" Blah, blah, blah. Like, we just don't know what happened.
So I think that Keanu is going to tell them all everything, but she's not going to leave him because there's a scenario where Keanu leaves out the rainy night sex. They came here, they got an Uber, they left, and then they came back, they broke in, and they did all this. And you can see that they raped me because it's on Facebook. I'm tied up. I'm not willing. And then you can see that they trashed the whole house. Right. I've been with you for 14 years. Right. We have children together.
Right.
Have I ever behaved in this way? Ever?
Right.
I don't think there's a... Now... Let's say that he did come clean on the rainy night sex.
Right.
I still don't believe that his wife will leave him just because of the state the house is in. He's buried up to his neck.
He clearly wouldn't have done that to himself.
Exactly. And the rape is on Facebook, and the house is destroyed. The dog is... Yeah, I don't think the wife is going to leave him at all.
But the video that was on Facebook, though, he wasn't exactly... It didn't look like he was being raped, because he was saying like, "Oh yeah, give it to your daddy's little girl, fuck that, daddy loves to fuck his little girl," whatever he was saying. I missed what the specifics were that he was saying, but he definitely wasn't making noises or making it obvious that it was non-consensual.
The video started with Genesis saying, "Yeah," like Genesis was holding the camera,
right,
and then pans over and puts it down on the nightstand or the makeup stand or whatever,
right. Yeah.
and where it's facing them. I don't know. He's tied up.
Yeah.
He's hands and feet tied up. There's no way that's consensual, especially considering the wounds that he has on him.
It could, but here's the thing, though. Again, with the fact that he was tied up is one thing, but that could have been just something kinky they had discussed. But again, I agree with you. That if he was, quote, raping them, he wouldn't have tied himself up.
Yeah.
Or had her tie them up, because raping implies that one person is forcing themselves upon the other non-consensually. So I can see that.
I don't think there's any scenario after the state she finds Keanu in the house. I don't think there's any scenario where she leaves him.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go with that. I mean, it was 2015. We're at 2019. There's not been a Knock Knock 2. I think we're probably okay with that.
I think we're safe.
Yes. So, want to do some numbers?
Let's do the numbers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So the numbers for this, we're going to talk about the different criteria that we like to rate our movies on. And you can see those different criteria over on our leaderboard, casualmovieclub.com. Then click on the leaderboard button, which conveniently is right next to the Patreon button. So, Brian, what would people do by clicking on the Patreon button? What can they do with that?
They can support us on Patreon. They can donate to our cause. There are several different tiers that you can subscribe to, and each of those come with their own perks.
Indeed. Very cool. So you can click on Patreon on our website, casualmovieclub.com. You can also click on Leaderboard, and you'll see all the different movies we've watched and rated and our ratings for those movies. And the different categories that we rate them on are things like the acting. How well did the actors convey the story? How believable were they? Was it something where we really felt like we were watching people engrossed in their characters, or were they just kind of showing up one day and reading a script and just saying lines and whatnot? Then the script, how well was the dialogue written? Was it something that was believable, or was it something that was just kind of like random text that just didn't seem very convincing, or was the story wasn't really convincing?
Next is presentation. There's editing and visual effects, how they were used. Were there too much? Was it not enough? How much green screen was there? And then next is music and sound. The soundtrack as a whole. How was the sound effects? How was the score? How was the music?
The goodies.
The goodies for your ears.
Yeah.
That's your favorite.
See, you can say it too. Then also we want to look at the uniqueness. Has this kind of movie been done before? Is this something we've seen from that year that it came out or earlier? Movies that came out afterwards don't count. And then engagement factor. Does this movie keep you engaged? Are you glued to the screen? Can you not live until you see what happens to those characters on the screen? or would you rather be weeding Twitter?
Rather be weeding Twitter.
So, Brian, since this was a surprise movie, I would love it if you go first and tell me, what did you think of the acting in this movie?
Hated it. I hated it. It was not good. I wanted to be on board with it. Even the wife was. I can forgive the children. And I don't.
The children had such a tiny part.
I don't count the children's performances.
Yeah.
But the wife, Keanu, the girls themselves, while they didn't have. I didn't have issue with them delivering their lines.
Yeah.
This is more of a script presentation thing, but
Sure.
it was mainly Keanu. I just.
Yeah.
He brought it down for me so much. I score the acting a 2.
Really?
A 2, yeah.
That's very generous.
Is it?
I gave the
my.
acting a 1.5 because I think that, and I try to find redeeming qualities. When I'm scoring something low, I try to find something redeeming about it. And I think that the girls were psychotic. They nailed the psychotic element of it. But apart from that, I didn't buy the wife at all. I didn't buy Keanu at all. Those were two of the kind of main characters. Luis, whatever the fuck his name was, he was okay. But again, nothing to write home about. I wasn't buying his whole I know trash hoes. I'm from Oakland, fool. I wasn't buying that at all. It just seemed very random and out of character. So 1.5 for acting for me. The script is also going to be a 1.5 because
Wow.
Some of the overusage of swears, I think, kind of cheapened a little bit. I mean, again, I get it because Keanu specifically was being tortured and everything, but I feel like Keanu's being ripped and then nothing, the girls thought he was, quote, ripped and, had muscles, but nothing ever came of that. The fact that he didn't go for the gun sooner, the plot holes and everything, I think it left a lot to be desired. So 1.5.
Script, I'm marking it a 2 also.
You're generous.
Well, the thing about it is that I'm generous because the script has potential. If this was
potential isn't what it is though.
You're right, but
because the movie, we're grading the movie on what it is, not what it could be.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
But a different director with this script, I think, could be great.
I don't know if I agree with you.
I see this. I see the potential in this movie. Now, what it is not good, and I will give you that. And I think the movie as a whole is not good. But if you were just to take the script and read it and imagine your best actors on it, John Cusack in the Keanu role, or
He might be a little old, but I see what you mean.
A different director.
Yeah.
A different director who makes different choices with this script. I think the script really lands on the director.
But here's the thing, though. You mentioned, I think you mentioned this before we started recording, that Eli Roth, who was the director of this, had directed things like Hostel.
He's done good movies.
Right.
He has
and
done
Hostel
good
was
movies.
so much better than this.
Yeah. I'm not saying he can't have a bad outing. It's obvious he has a bad outing. I hated this movie.
Right, but we know that things like Hostel were so much better than this movie. So we know that the director has potential. So so this was obviously not his finest hour.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And it's not. This is a real stinker. It's a real dud from Eli Roth. But yeah. I'm saying that as poorly as this was directed, I think that this script has potential. So this could potentially be remade.
Okay, I'll let you have it. Presentation. What did you think of the presentation?
Generally good. I mean, nothing offended me. I didn't. I did not care for it. It was the house was great. We talked about the composition. We talked about the cinematography, the shots.
Yeah,
they were generally good. Very middle of the road for me. So I'm going to give the presentation a 3.
3? Okay. That's fair. I'm at a 3.5 for the presentation, just because I liked a lot of what you said. I liked the shots. I liked the composition of a lot of things. I liked the interspersedness of the interspersedness. Is that even a word? I liked the interspersion of some of the sort of establishing shots. I liked the little tour of the house in the beginning. But I think maybe I'm going to just invoke a take backsies now, and I'm going to go back to 3, because I'm going to say everything kind of cumulatively, it was fine. Nothing blew me away, nothing offended me. It was fine. There was nothing to write home about. So I'm echoing your 3 on that, and moving forward. So the music and sound, I'm going to give a 3.5 to music and sound. I liked the score. I liked the music choices. Everything about that was fine. I'm going a little bit higher than middle of the road on that, because the fact that I liked the original music, it fit well for the action that was on the screen. But nothing more than that. And you?
Music and sound.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised your score. I love the score in the beginning.
Yeah.
I love the use of music. I like the soundtrack that they picked.
Yeah.
All of that. I thought it was all really, really well done. It was put together very well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the music and sound a 4.
Okay, that's fine. I respect that. And then while you're on the hot seat, uniqueness. What did you think of the uniqueness of this film?
So this is a 2015 movie. I can think of a few that this is in essence, this is a home invasion movie. Would you agree?
Yes.
It's a home invasion movie.
Yes, but there is one major thing, and I'm just waiting to see if you mention it. If not, I'm going to mention it. But there's one major difference that makes this movie really unique.
Well, now you're throwing me off. But so I'm thinking of like Cape Fear. I'm thinking of
when did Firewall come out? Because I think Firewall with Harrison Ford was kind of not that different. Firewall's 2006.
Firewall's 2006. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But see, there's also elements of this that echo other movies. Have you ever seen the movie 13 with Evan Rachel Wood? I think Rosario Dawson.
No.
2 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
They become best friends. They discover sex and they discover drugs and things like that, and they start to become wild hellions. And they try to proposition this guy. They doll themselves up and they make themselves look older than they are, and they come onto this dude and they almost have sex with him, and then he comes to his senses and they basically ruin his life.
Wow.
So there are things about this. This is a psychological thriller if you really break it down. And there's a lot of elements that are not new, not unique to this.
Okay.
So I'm going to score uniqueness as a 2.
A 2?
As a 2, yes.
Okay, so you didn't mention the thing I was going to mention. And that is, yes, it is a home invasion movie, and there are some tropes that this does sort of go back to. But
there's a lot of fatal attraction in there.
Yes, but I think the sort of the 2 girls coming in and the 2 girls sort of, playing up the victim role and using their sort of victim role as their means of getting power. Over the victim, over Keanu. I think that does make it kind of unique. We haven't seen movies like this. At least I haven't seen movies like this. Where women are the antagonist kind of thing, and kind of holding the fact that women are more likely to be believed in society as the victims and using that as their source of power over a man. I think that's a unique usage of that in this movie. So that's why, interestingly enough, I gave the uniqueness a 4.
Wow.
Yeah. But moving forward to engagement factor, I was not thoroughly engaged during this movie. I felt like this movie dragged during quite a few parts. But then again, that could be down to direction. It could be down to casting. It could be down to acting. There's so many reasons why it could have dragged. But engagement-wise, I was not nearly as drawn into this as other movies that I've been drawn into. So 1.75 for engagement for me.
God, that's low. This is my first viewing, and
my second, by the way. Full disclosure, it's my second.
Sure. I started falling out when they were overdeveloping Keanu as a family man in the beginning. I was starting to fall out of it when the girls just kept going on and on and on about the art and destroying the art and destroying the house, and I was like, all right.
That lost me completely.
Yeah, I scored this a 3 for engagement factor, but subsequent viewings, I can see that this is 3 is not the right score. So I'm gonna invoke a take backs and I'm gonna go 2.5. I'm gonna go 2.5.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I haven't typed it in yet. So.
I'm sure 2.5. Not a 3.
Okay.
3 is a little too high.
I think 2.5 is a little too high, but that's just me.
Yeah.
All right. Are the numbers in?
The numbers are in, sir.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Keanu's and Sandra Bullock's all over the world. The numbers for Knock Knock from 2015 are as follows. Acting, 1.75. Script, 1.75. Presentation, 3. Music and sound, 3.75. Uniqueness, 3. Engagement factor, 2.13 for a total average of 2.56. Which puts it just above Blues Brothers 2000.
That's great.
I disagree with that because I think Blues Brothers 2000 is actually no. I agree. I would probably watch this movie over Blues Brothers 2000.
Yes, I would also.
Yeah,
I would watch this over Blues Brothers. I would
watch this over The Craft.
I don't know. The Craft is bad in a good way to me. I think The Room is very, very poorly rated.
Well,
I don't know. We talked about this before. Let's not rehash it. I love The Room, and I think
I know you do.
Yeah.
But The Room has 3 ratings that are in the ones.
It's not a good movie. It's
not. Hi, Brian.
It's not a good movie.
Oh, hi, Brian.
Hi, John. All right. I like where
it's bottom 5, so I'm okay with that.
I like where Knock Knock ended up.
And I'm glad that The Wraith is a better movie than this. Wait, is it? Hold on.
It is, yeah, it's a better movie.
2.56 and Wraith was 2.6.
2.6
I would watch The Wraith more than this, so that's good. Okay, I'm cool with that. So next week is what?
It's my surprise movie.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that. What was the movie you wanted to do again?
It's a surprise.
Oh, okay.
You were hyping this movie up to the point where I was like, oh man, maybe I need to reconsider my surprise movie.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, so next week is going to be a mystery to all of us, myself included. So definitely make sure you guys tune in next week. See what I did there? Tune in next week for the podcast episode where we see what Brian has up his sleeve for us. And if you guys are interested in a little trip down memory lane, go on YouTube and do a search for Tune In Next Week. That was the podcast Brian and I did before the Casual Movie Club.
Yeah, it's about TV shows.
Right. So it was a little different. I think we've definitely we've come a good ways from there.
I hope we've improved.
Yeah.
It feels like we have anyway.
Absolutely. But we're mystery movie next week from Brian, and then who knows the week after that. But Brian, you got anything else you want to say?
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Well, before we do that, again, reach out to us on social media at Casual Movie Club on Twitter and Instagram. Also, call us, leave us a voicemail, or send us a text, 402-882-2742. That is 402-882-2742. We would love to hear from you. You can shoot us an email, casualmovieclub@hotmail.com. Either way, we would love to hear from you. Also, check out our Patreon. We would love to have you guys joining us and supporting us there. You get some nice benefits by being a member over there. And also check out our merchandise as well. You can rep your favorite movie podcast by wearing one of our shirts, getting a phone case, a mug, or a notebook, whatever you like. We've got lots of stuff over there you can check out by clicking on the merch button on our website, casualmovieclub.com. So once again, thank you so very much for listening. We appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.